Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're doing a recent reads check-in video to talk about some of the most recent things that I've read in the past few weeks. I have 8 books to talk about. However, some of these I did do dedicated reading vlogs talking about them at length. So if you want to check those videos out, because I'm probably gonna kind of breeze through them. I hope you're having a good day. Yeah, so starting with the books that were in other videos, I have A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn, and then I also have Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. Both of these were in a reading vlog dedicated to reading mystery thriller books. I had a huge hankering to pick them up, so I picked up 4. So starting with A Curious Beginning, this takes place in the late 1800s. We follow a young woman named Veronica Speedwell. She's kind of an unassuming academic type. She's very independent, likes studying butterflies. One day she gets home after her aunt's funeral, and she finds that her house is being burglarized. She thinks it's a one-off thing, but someone kind of convinces her that someone's actually out to get her. She's not really bought into that whole idea, but there's a little bit of a mystery at hand. Someone does eventually die. That's part of the mystery. So I was kind of leaning on it too for the most part. Because of some of the twists at the end, I was generous and gave it a 3. If I were to continue this series, I'd probably do it on audiobook, because I'm not gonna buy these physical copies and be meh about them. And Firekeeper's Daughter, I absolutely love this. This will probably be on my top 10 of the year unless something better comes around. But I really enjoyed this. This is YA mystery. Follow a young woman who is half Ojibwe, half white American, and she kind of gets involved in this tragic event and is basically roped into becoming a confidential informant for the FBI. I don't want to give much more than that plot-wise, but I really love this. I'm very, very eager to see what this author writes next, because I absolutely loved every aspect of the story. Looking back, I'm not sure if I gave it 5 stars in the vlog, but I would give it 5 stars now. And the other book that I read for a video dedicated just for this one book was Mistborn: The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This was my first Sanderson. It's titled reading my first Brandon Sanderson or something like that. I read specifically just this one book. It's a whole video. Also a discussion at the end, so if you want to see a lot of thoughts about this book, feel free to watch that video. But I really enjoyed it. Again, will probably be on my top 10. I really enjoyed this. I can see why so many people love specifically this one book. I haven't read the majority of Sanderson's work, obviously, but if it's anything like this with the craft and the detail and all that kind of stuff, and I can see why a lot of people like him as an author. Very happy picking this up, and I will continue with the series and pick up his other work as well. Obviously 5 stars. Done. So those were the books in other videos. Where should I start next? I decided to reread Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. This is technically YA fantasy romance, but I never continued with the series, and I really wanted to. And I remember absolutely loving this book when I first picked it up for the magical readathon a few years ago, when it was still Harry Potter themed. Didn't love it as much this time, but I still enjoyed aspects of it that I didn't really get to enjoy prior. In this book, we follow a young woman named Yelena. She has killed someone in self-defense, but in this world that she lives in, there is no defense for murder. Even self-defense, you're gonna die as well. You're gonna get executed. There's no excuses for murder whatsoever. So she's locked up in the dungeons awaiting her execution, but the position of poison taster for the commander, the head of state, opens up, and she takes the position, and she gets involved in a lot of political drama. The romance wasn't as amazing as I remember it to be. It wasn't bad or anything, but it almost didn't feel insta lovey. But I just wish there was more tenderness and more attraction shown in the book than we're told she suddenly gets the hot for this one guy. What I didn't appreciate the first time was how much the political intrigue played a part in this story. So the country that our main character lives in has recently gone through a political change, a political shift. It used to be ruled by a king who was very pro magic, and now it's basically under the control of a military, I don't want to say dictatorship, but it is a kind of a strong military head. No magic whatsoever. But at the same time, there are aspects of this, I don't want to call it fascism either, because there is equal opportunity advancement, I guess, if that makes sense. And fascism very much doesn't give room to marginalized voices. It's weird, but I do appreciate the effort to add in a lot of like political like nuances and stuff in this YA series. What else? I will say that there's one aspect of this book that was dated when I first read this book, and it's still dated today, but there's one character who is trans, and while their identity is never questioned or mocked, or there's nothing too inherently transphobic about the text itself, it was used as a reveal, and that is very much like early 2000s to use someone's like either sexual identity or like gender identity as like a plot reveal. Again, the character's still respected and like still, you know, they're still the person who they are, and the author's not questioning that, but just it's a reveal, you know. But I will continue with this series because I don't know, I have an attachment to the few books that I did read in this way back when. So yeah, I read quite a few romances. That's what's been really like keeping me like afloat. I read 2 Lynsay Sands romances. I tried to like space them out, but these are like really fun and addicting for me to read. I read books 3 and 4 in the Highlander Bride series. So Lynsay Sands writes quite a few books, and she does write her fair share of historical fiction. These are the like Scottish Highland type romances. So in book 3 we follow a young lady named Sade Buchanan. She's going to visit her like distant cousin because her cousin has recently like lost her like husband, and this is a 4th husband who has died in like somewhat mysterious circumstances. So our main character is going to go check on her and be like, are you killing your husbands? Like what's going on here? And then she meets someone, a Scottish laird, and like falls in love. Sade Buchanan, our main character, does actually have a fair few amount of brothers. She has like 7 brothers in this like Buchanan clan, and they are each getting their own book. And in book 4, which I also read, we follow the first brother who gets his own story, and that is Dougal. We follow Dougal Buchanan and his relationship with Mureen. Mureen we met in book 2. Again, we meet all of these characters before, so while you don't have to read them in order, they are fun to like discover the characters and like see who's gonna get like a story next. We follow Mureen, and she has had a lot of bad luck lately. Most of her family has died within like the past year or so, and our half brother has gotten like everything in her father's will. She's not destitute because she is a lady, but she doesn't get anything, and he treats her like crap, so she runs away and then runs into the first Buchanan who gets his own love story. I would give both of them around like similar ratings. I did enjoy Sade's story more than Mureen's, but I pretty much feel the same way about all of her books. They are just so perfect for me. One, their historical setting, which I prefer. There's like an element of camp to like these plots because they're kind of ridiculous. Like for example, in book 2, I think a woman disguises herself as a young man to like travel from England to Scotland to avoid like getting harassed and all that kind of thing, and then she meets her love interest, you know, like funny silly stories. I think there's one book where a young woman kidnaps one of the Buchanan brothers, but she accidentally kidnaps the wrong Buchanan. And again, like ridiculous plots, but they're fun for me. Like they capture my attention pretty well. The best part of Lynsay Sands like historical fiction that I've read so far, I haven't read all of them, but the best part is that there is no 3rd act miscommunication breakup. That is so frustrating for me. I know we hate miscommunication even though it's like the most realistic. It's just like not fun to read, which I agree. While there might be miscommunication at the beginning of the story because, you know, people don't know each other, almost always the 3rd act climax threat is almost always at the hands of someone else, like a 3rd party trying to disrupt the relationship. So it's never like 2 characters who can't sit down for 30 minutes and have a conversation. It's like someone's murdered someone or something like that, which I really enjoy. And I'm really happy I've gone to the part in the series where we're finally exploring the 7 Buchanan brothers and their relationships, because they're so like, they're not stupid himbos, but they definitely just do want to make their like love interests like happy, which is like the only thing that I care for. I think I gave book 3, The Highlander Takes a Bride, like a 3.5, and then I gave book 4, Falling for the Highlander, like 3 stars. But I would still like reread them like for fun. Since I am on the topic of historical romance, I did read A Company of Fiends by Kathryn Moon. I have been so eagerly anticipating reading this. I actually forgot it came out, and when I was doing my historical fiction rec video, which you should, you know, watch if you want, I found out that this was released and I hadn't picked it up. This is the 2nd book in the Tempting Monster series that she has. The first book I absolutely loved. I ate it up. It's so fun. It is very like graphic, spicy smut stuff, so that's not your thing. It's very like erotic focused. Then this book won't be for you. But in the first book, our main character goes to a theater with some of her partners for like fun. She goes to theater like on a date. And in the second book, we focus on a main character who works at this theater. We're someone already familiar with the setting, which if you read book one, the theater scene was wild. One of my favorite things I've ever read within this like genre type. We follow our main character who's an actress in this theater, and a bunch of girls are winding up dead. And that's the plot that's kind of like simmering in the background, but mostly focused on the relationships with her partners. It is a why choose romance. If that wasn't like clear, she doesn't have like one specific partner that she ends up with. She has like multiple, and they're all, this is also like supernatural as well, so they're not like people, they're monsters. So yeah, it was really fun. I had a good time. I still enjoy book one more. I would still read whatever this author has written, because I read some of her, I've never read like Omega stuff until I picked up Kathryn Moon, and I was like, I'll give it a try. It's not my thing, but I really like her writing. It's like fun. It's like the perfect fun writing for me. And the last book and the most recent book that I'm going to talk about is Go Hex Yourself by Jessica Clare. I just found out this is a Raylo fanfiction. I don't like Raylo, but the fact that I didn't like notice until like I was looking at reviews, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, it's whatever. This is a witchy romance. It's a little more lighthearted. It's actually very much more lighthearted than the last book I talked about. But in this book, we follow a young woman named Reggie who is answering an ad in a paper thinking it's an assistant position, but it's actually like an actual like witch assistant familiar position. The ad said spellcraft, which she thought was like a game, the card game that she plays, but it's actually like a real spellcraft like assistant position. There's some like hijinks that happens and all that kind of thing, but the nephew of the woman that she's applying for is the Adam Driver character. I did not know this going in. Why didn't anyone tell me? I see that Raylo fanfiction pipeline is thriving. Good for Raylo stans. I am not the biggest fan of that. It's literally just like Grumpy Sunshine. That's like the epitome of it. Adam Driver character is like physically bigger almost always, and then she's like this little petite thing. I don't know about all that, but I liked this for the most part. I would have given it like 4 stars, but then like I started kind of losing at the end when they actually like finally got together. It's a happily ever after, so obviously they're gonna get together. It's not a spoiler. I was more interested in like the bickering stuff that was happening at the beginning than at the end. I did enjoy like the witchcraft, how it kind of played out in this like urban setting. It's very much like our world with like secret witches and stuff, and I'm actually looking forward to the second one. It's not as amazing as it was while in the middle of it, but it's still like passable. Like, it's still fun. I think that's all of the books that I have to update you all on. It was a lot of romance. Did not know that's what was getting me through until I was like scrolling through my Goodreads, like recently read. So again, feel free to watch some of those other vlog videos where I talk about some of these books like more in depth. I would really appreciate it. Feel free to like, dislike, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. That's also all cool with me. Feel free to talk to me below in the comments about anything that I've talked about. I'd love to hear anything you have to say. All my social medias will be listed down below, as well as some far more important links. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.